Most women don't leave because they stopped loving. They leave because they felt alone while sitting right next to you. There are 7 intimate needs every woman carries quietly, and only a small fraction of men ever learn how to meet them. If you understand these, you don't chase attraction, it stays. Here's the uncomfortable truth: flowers, money, looks, even confidence, none of these keep intimacy alive. What keeps it alive is psychological safety. When a woman feels emotionally steady around you, her nervous system relaxes. When it doesn't, desire slowly shuts down. And this is where most men fail without realizing it. The first need is emotional safety, not intensity, not drama, safety. She needs to know that her feelings won't be mocked, minimized, or weaponized later. A man who can stay calm when emotions rise instantly separates himself from the crowd. The second need is consistency, not perfection, consistency. Words matching actions, promises that don't dissolve over time. For many women, inconsistency feels like instability, and instability kills trust. The third need is being truly seen. Not just her body, not just her role, but her inner world, her fears, her contradictions. When a man listens without rushing to fix or dominate the conversation, intimacy deepens naturally. The fourth need is respect for boundaries. Desire grows when she feels she can say no without punishment. Men who pressure, rush, or guilt never realize they are training her nervous system to pull away. The fifth need is emotional presence, being there without distraction, without your phone, without ego. Presence tells her you matter right now, and that message is deeply intimate. The sixth need is accountability. Owning mistakes without defensiveness, repairing instead of denying. A man who can say, "I was wrong," becomes rare and powerful. The seventh need is growth. Women don't want to carry a man who has stopped evolving. They want a partner who reflects, learns, and adapts. Stagnation feels like emotional abandonment. Emotional safety is the foundation of intimacy. Yet it is the least understood by most men. It is not about being nice all the time, agreeing with everything, or avoiding conflict. Emotional safety means a woman feels that her inner world is protected in your presence. She can express fear, disappointment, confusion, or vulnerability without worrying that it will later be used against her, mocked, dismissed, or turned into a power struggle. When emotional safety is absent, her nervous system stays on alert, and desire cannot thrive in a state of emotional threat. Many men unknowingly destroy emotional safety through defensiveness. When she shares a feeling and the response is denial, justification, or counterattack, the message she receives is that her emotions are inconvenient. Over time, she stops sharing, not because she has nothing to say, but because it feels unsafe to speak. Silence then replaces intimacy. Emotional safety requires emotional regulation. A man who can stay grounded when emotions rise signals stability. He does not escalate, shut down, or punish vulnerability with withdrawal or anger. Another part of emotional safety is predictability. Sudden mood shifts, emotional coldness, or passive-aggressive behavior create anxiety. A woman may never say it out loud, but she constantly scans for emotional cues. When she knows where she stands with you, her body relaxes. Emotional safety also means taking responsibility when you cause emotional harm instead of minimizing it. Repair matters more than being right. When she feels emotionally safe, she opens naturally, bonds deeply, and connects without fear or self-protection taking over. Consistency is what teaches a woman that she can trust what she feels around you. It is not about dramatic effort or constant attention. It is about reliability over time. When your words and actions align again and again, her mind stops questioning your intentions. Many men believe attraction is created through intensity, but intensity without consistency creates confusion. Confusion forces her into emotional self-protection. She may still smile, still talk, still stay for a while, but internally she becomes guarded. Inconsistency shows up in small ways that are often ignored, calling often and then disappearing, making promises in emotional moments and forgetting them later, being warm one day and distant the next without explanation. Each shift forces her to reevaluate where she stands with you. Over time, this uncertainty feels exhausting. Her energy moves from connection to vigilance. Instead of leaning in, she starts pulling back emotionally to avoid disappointment. Consistency also communicates emotional maturity. It signals that you are not ruled by mood, ego, or impulse. You don't show up only when it benefits you or when you feel inspired. You show up because you said you would. This creates a sense of stability that many women crave but rarely find. It allows her nervous system to settle. When she knows what to expect, she doesn't need to test, chase clarity, or seek reassurance. Importantly, consistency does not mean perfection. It means honesty when you cannot deliver, clear communication instead of silence, predictable effort instead of sudden bursts followed by absence. When a woman experiences consistency, she feels chosen without having to compete, prove, or guess, and that feeling quietly deepens attachment and emotional closeness over time. Being truly seen is one of the deepest intimate needs a woman has, and it is far rarer than most men realize. It goes far beyond attention or attraction. To be seen means her inner world is acknowledged without distortion. Her thoughts are not dismissed as overreactions. Her emotions are not simplified or corrected. When a woman feels unseen, she may still be admired, desired, or even loved, but something essential is missing, and over time, that absence creates emotional loneliness. Many men listen with the intent to respond, advise, or fix. In doing so, they unintentionally miss her experience. When she shares something personal, she is not always asking for solutions. Often, she is asking to be understood. Being seen requires slowing down and allowing her reality to exist without immediately reshaping it into something more comfortable for you. This means reflecting back what you hear instead of redirecting the conversation toward your own perspective. Being truly seen also involves curiosity, remembering what matters to her, noticing changes in her mood, and asking questions that show genuine interest rather than obligation. When a man notices patterns in her behavior or emotions and responds with awareness, it creates a powerful sense of connection. She feels known, not studied. When a woman feels seen, she relaxes emotionally. She does not need to exaggerate her feelings to be heard or suppress them to keep the peace. She becomes more open, more affectionate, and more emotionally available. This kind of intimacy builds quietly but deeply, creating a bond that does not rely on performance or validation, only on mutual recognition and emotional presence. Calm presence is an intimate need that works beneath awareness, yet it shapes how safe and connected a woman feels around a man. It is not silence, dominance, or emotional distance. Calm presence is the ability to remain steady without shutting down or becoming reactive. When a man can hold his emotional center during stress, disagreement, or uncertainty, her nervous system begins to mirror that stability. This is not something she consciously analyzes, but something her body immediately senses. Many men believe intensity equals passion, but intensity often activates anxiety. Raised voices, impatience, sarcasm, or emotional withdrawal all signal unpredictability. Even subtle agitation communicates that connection may come at a cost. Calm presence, on the other hand, communicates reliability. It tells her that emotions can move through the space without creating damage. She feels she does not have to manage your reactions or walk on emotional eggshells. Calm presence also means responding instead of reacting. When emotions rise, you pause, listen, and ground yourself before speaking. This creates room for understanding rather than escalation. A man who can regulate himself becomes an emotional anchor. In moments where she feels overwhelmed, his steadiness becomes a place of rest rather than another source of stress. This presence is deeply intimate because it allows vulnerability to surface naturally. She does not need to protect herself, explain herself excessively, or brace for emotional consequences. Over time, calm presence becomes associated with relief, safety, and attraction. It fosters closeness without force and builds desire without pressure, creating a bond that feels supportive rather than consuming or unstable. Respect for boundaries is one of the clearest signals of genuine intimacy. Yet it is often misunderstood as distance or lack of desire. In reality, boundaries are what allow desire to feel safe. When a woman sets a boundary, she is not rejecting connection. She is defining where she feels secure. A man who respects that boundary communicates that her autonomy matters more than his immediate wants. This creates trust at a nervous system level, not just an intellectual one. Many men cross boundaries unintentionally through pressure, pushing for faster emotional disclosure, physical closeness, constant access, or reassurance. Even when done politely, pressure communicates entitlement. Over time, it teaches her that saying no will be met with disappointment, withdrawal, or subtle punishment. Once that happens, her yes no longer feels free, and intimacy loses its authenticity. Respecting boundaries also means listening the first time, not negotiating, joking, or testing limits to see how flexible they are. When a man accepts her limits without resentment, she feels safe to relax them naturally later. Paradoxically, boundaries honored tend to soften, while boundaries challenged tend to harden. Emotional boundaries matter just as much as physical ones, not demanding explanations she is not ready to give, not forcing resolution before she has processed her feelings, allowing space without interpreting it as abandonment or disloyalty. This shows emotional maturity and self-regulation. When a woman experiences consistent respect for her boundaries, she stops guarding herself. She does not need to stay alert or defensive. She feels sovereign in the connection rather than managed or consumed by it. That sense of safety deepens closeness and allows intimacy to grow organically without fear, obligation, or the need for constant self-protection. Accountability is an intimate need because it determines whether a woman feels emotionally safe after conflict. Every relationship has moments of misunderstanding, hurt, or misalignment. What separates deep connection from emotional erosion is how those moments are handled. When a man avoids responsibility, deflects blame, or minimizes impact, the issue does not disappear. It accumulates quietly. Over time, unresolved moments become emotional distance. Many men confuse accountability with weakness. In reality, it is a sign of strength and emotional maturity. Accountability does not mean self-shaming or over-apologizing. It means recognizing your role in the emotional experience she had, even if your intention was different. When you acknowledge the effect of your behavior without defensiveness, you validate her reality. That validation restores trust faster than explanations ever could. Defensiveness is one of the quickest ways to damage intimacy. When a man responds to emotional feedback with justification, counter accusations, or silence, the message she receives is that being honest is risky. Over time, she stops addressing issues and starts emotionally disengaging. Accountability interrupts that pattern. It keeps communication open and repair possible. Accountability also includes follow through. Apologies without change feel hollow. When a woman sees behavioral adjustment after a mistake, she feels taken seriously. She learns that her feelings matter enough to influence your actions. This creates emotional security and deepens attachment. When accountability is present, conflict becomes connective instead of destructive. She does not fear speaking up because repair is reliable. Trust strengthens because she knows mistakes will be met with responsibility rather than denial. This makes emotional intimacy resilient, allowing closeness to survive imperfections without slowly breaking down over time. Growth is an intimate need because it determines whether a woman feels she is moving forward with you or slowly outgrowing you. This is not about ambition in a superficial sense, nor constant self-improvement for approval. It is about psychological movement. A man who reflects on his patterns, learns from experience, and adapts emotionally signals that the relationship is alive. When growth is absent, the connection begins to feel heavy, repetitive, and emotionally stagnant. Many women stay attracted not to who a man is today, but to who he is becoming. When a man resists feedback, refuses self-examination, or clings to old defenses, she feels emotionally alone in the relationship. She may grow, evolve, and gain awareness while he remains fixed. This creates an invisible gap. Over time, she starts to feel like she is dragging the relationship forward by herself. Growth also means emotional flexibility. Being willing to question your reactions, unlearn habits that no longer serve the relationship, and expand your emotional range. A man who can say, I hadn't seen that before, or I'm working on that, communicates humility and openness. This makes emotional intimacy feel dynamic rather than rigid. Stagnation often shows up as repeated conflicts with no change, the same arguments cycling endlessly, or the same emotional injuries being reopened. Growth interrupts these loops. It creates hope. It reassures her that effort leads somewhere and that emotional investment is not wasted. When a woman senses genuine growth, she feels safe investing more of herself. She does not fear being trapped in emotional sameness or future resentment. Growth keeps desire alive because it signals that connection will deepen rather than decay, and that intimacy will expand instead of slowly suffocating under repetition and emotional inertia. Connection is the final intimate need because it is what transforms attraction into attachment. Most men are taught to impress, to perform, to prove value through achievement, status, confidence, or control. While these may create initial interest,